the genius way to learn anything fast. Hello and welcome to MT. We all want to be smarter. We all want to learn things faster and remember them for longer. We spend hours reading books, watching videos, or sitting in classrooms, but a week later, most of that information feels like it has vanished from our brains. It's frustrating. You feel like you're putting in the work, but your brain just won't hold on to the knowledge. You start to think maybe you're just not smart enough, or maybe you're just bad at learning. I'm here to tell you that's not true. The problem isn't your brain, it's the way you've been taught to learn. We've been taught to cram, to memorize, to highlight pages until they're yellow, but we were never taught how to truly understand. Today, we're going to fix that. We are going to talk about a method, a simple trick that was used by one of the smartest people of the last century. A man who was a certified genius, but who was famous for being able to explain the most complicated ideas in the simplest way possible. This technique is so powerful that it can help you learn anything, from how a car engine works, to a new language, to a complex scientific theory. And the best part is, it's so simple you can start using it the second this video ends. Before we dive into this amazing method, I have a quick question for you. Think about the last thing you tried to learn. It could be anything at all, big or small. Maybe it was a new recipe, a skill for your job, or just a random fact from the internet. What was it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what you all are working on. All right, let's get into it. To understand why this special technique works so well, we first need to understand why our normal way of learning often fails us. Think back to your school days. How did you study for a big test? If you were like me, you probably reread your notes over and over again. You might have highlighted almost every sentence in your textbook, thinking that the bright colors would magically transfer the information into your head. The night before the exam, you'd cram for hours, forcing facts and dates into your short-term memory, hoping they'd stick around long enough for you to write them down on the test paper the next day. And sometimes, it worked. You'd pass the test. But what happened a week later? Or a month later? If someone asked you about that topic, could you explain it? Probably not. Most of that information would be gone, floating away like a forgotten dream. This is what we call rote memorization. It's the act of memorizing something through sheer repetition, without any real understanding of what it means. It's like memorizing the words to a song in a language you don't speak. You can sing the song perfectly, but you have no idea what you're actually saying. You have the words, but not the meaning. This is not real learning. It's a trick, a temporary solution that creates what is known as the illusion of competence. The illusion of competence is a dangerous trap. It's when you think you know something, but you don't. Rereading your notes feels productive. The words look familiar, you recognize the concepts, so your brain tells you, yep, I know this stuff. But recognizing something is not the same as understanding it. It's the difference between seeing a picture of a bicycle and actually knowing how to ride one. You can recognize the pedals, the handlebars, and the wheels, but that doesn't mean you can hop on and ride away. True learning, the kind of learning that sticks with you for life, is different. It's about building a deep, intuitive understanding. It's about connecting new ideas to things you already know. It's about breaking down a big, complicated subject into small, simple pieces that you can explain to anyone. And that is the secret behind the technique we're talking about today. It's called the Feynman technique, named after a man named Richard Feynman. So who was this Feynman guy? Richard Feynman was a physicist, and not just any physicist. He won a Nobel Prize for his work, which is like the Olympics gold medal for scientists. He was, without a doubt, a genius. He worked on some of the most complex problems in the universe. But what made Feynman truly special wasn't just his massive brain. It was his incredible ability to teach. He was known as the Great Explainer because he could take these mind-bendingly complicated ideas from physics and explain them in a way that was so simple, so clear, that almost anyone could grasp them. He hated jargon and complicated language. He believed that if you couldn't explain something in simple terms, you didn't really understand it at all. And from this belief, his powerful learning method was born. The Feynman technique is a simple, 4-step process for learning anything. I mean anything. It forces you to move beyond passive recognition and into the world of true, deep understanding. It's brutally effective because it doesn't let you lie to yourself. It shines a bright light on the parts you don't understand, the gaps in your knowledge, and forces you to fix them. So, let's break it down, step by simple step. The first step is to choose your concept. This sounds obvious, but it's an important first step. You need to pick one thing you want to learn. Don't try to learn all of biology at once. That's too big. Start with something smaller, more manageable. For example, instead of biology, choose photosynthesis. Instead of economics, choose supply and demand. Pick one specific concept. Once you've got it, get a blank sheet of paper or open a new document on your computer. At the top of the page, write down the name of the concept. For our example, we'll write photosynthesis at the top of our page. Now, you study that concept. Read the chapter in the textbook, watch a few educational videos, read an article about it. Gather the information from your sources, but don't just passively read it. As you study, write down everything you know about the topic on your sheet of paper. Don't worry about making it perfect. Just get the information down. Write down the definitions, the key ideas, the process. Do this until you feel you have a pretty good grasp of the subject. Now comes the second and most important step of the entire process. This is the part that feels a bit strange at first, but it's where the magic really happens. You need to pretend you are teaching this concept to someone else, but not just anyone. You have to explain it to a child. Imagine you're explaining it to a 10-year-old. Why a child? Because a child doesn't know any of the jargon or complex vocabulary that you might be tempted to use. You can't use words like chloroplasts or cellular respiration and expect them to understand. You are forced to use simple language, simple sentences, and simple analogies. So take your sheet of paper on photosynthesis and start explaining it out loud as if a child were sitting right in front of you. You might say something like this. Okay, so you know how we need to eat food to get energy? Well, plants need to eat too, but they can't just go to a restaurant. They make their own food. It's a process called photosynthesis. Think of a plant's leaf like a tiny kitchen. The plant takes in 3 ingredients. First, it breathes in a gas from the air called carbon dioxide, which is the same stuff we breathe out. Second, it drinks water, usually through its roots in the ground. And third, it needs energy to cook the food. And it gets that energy from sunlight. So the leaf, the little kitchen, uses the sunlight energy to mix the water and the carbon dioxide together to make a type of sugar. This sugar is the plant's food. It gives the plant the energy it needs to grow. And as a bonus, while the plant is cooking, it releases something back into the air that we need to breathe, called oxygen. As you are doing this, you will notice something very interesting. You will inevitably get stuck. You will find yourself stumbling over your words. You might say, so the sunlight hits this green stuff in the leaf and, it sort of turns it into energy. That moment, that hesitation, is golden. That is the sound of you discovering a gap in your understanding. You know the sunlight is important, and you know the leaf is green, but you can't clearly and simply explain how one leads to the other. You are using vague language because you don't actually understand the details yourself. This is the moment the illusion of competence shatters. You thought you knew it, but when forced to explain it simply, you realize you don't. This leads us directly to the third step. Identify your gaps and go back to the source material. Every single time you stumble, every time you have to use a complicated word because you can't think of a simpler one, every time you say it kind of just happens, you need to stop. Circle that part of your explanation on your paper. These are your weak spots. These are the areas where your knowledge is fuzzy. Now, you go back to your textbook, your notes, or the video you watched. But this time, you're not just passively reading. You are hunting for a specific piece of information. You are looking for the answer to the question you couldn't explain simply. In our photosynthesis example, you got stuck on the green stuff. So you go back to your source material and you learn about chlorophyll. You learn that chlorophyll is the pigment that not only makes the leaf green, but also has the special job of absorbing the energy from sunlight. It's like a tiny solar panel inside the leaf. Once you've filled that gap in your knowledge, you go back to your explanation and try again. You refine it. Okay, let me try that part again. Inside the leaf are tiny little things called chloroplasts, and they are filled with a green chemical called chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is amazing because it can catch sunlight, just like a baseball glove catches a ball. It grabs the sun's energy, and that energy is what powers the whole cooking process to mix the water and the air into sugar. See how much clearer that is? You keep repeating this process. Explain, get stuck, go back and learn, and then explain again. You do this for every part of the concept until you can explain the entire thing from start to finish in simple, clear language without getting stuck once. The fourth and final step is to review and simplify even further. Now, you should have a pretty solid, simple explanation. Read it out loud one more time. Is there any way to make it even simpler? Are you still using any jargon that you could replace with a more common word? This is also where you should try to create your own analogies. An analogy is when you compare something new to something the person already understands. We already used a few. We compared the leaf to a kitchen and chlorophyll to a solar panel or a baseball glove. Analogies are incredibly powerful learning tools because they build a bridge from the new, unknown idea to an old, familiar one in your brain. Think about the concept of a black hole. That's a very complex topic, but you could create a simple analogy. Imagine you put a very, very heavy bowling ball on a trampoline. It would sink way down, creating a deep pit. Now, if you roll a small marble nearby, it will fall into that pit and won't be able to get out. A black hole is kind of like that, but with gravity. A star that's super, super heavy collapses and creates such a powerful gravity pit in space that nothing, not even light, can escape once it gets too close. Is that a perfectly accurate scientific description? No. A physicist might find flaws in it. But does it give a simple, intuitive understanding of the basic idea to someone who knows nothing about it? Absolutely. That's the goal. Once you have reviewed your explanation, simplified the language, and created powerful analogies, you are done. Your sheet of paper, which started as a messy collection of notes, is now a beautifully simple and clear summary of the concept. And more importantly, the concept is no longer just a collection of memorized facts in your head. It's a deep, solid structure of understanding. You don't just recognize it, you own it. You've looked at it from every angle, you've taken it apart and put it back together, and you've found the words to make it make sense. That kind of learning doesn't fade away after the test. It sticks with you. Let's walk through another example, this time with something practical, not just a scientific concept. Let's say you want to learn how to make a perfect omelet. Step 1. Choose your concept and study. You watch a few videos of chefs making omelets. You read a recipe. You write down the key steps on your piece of paper. Crack eggs, whisk them with a fork, add salt, heat a pan, add butter, pour in the eggs, wait until the edge is set. Push the cooked eggs to the center, tilt the pan, add cheese, fold it over, slide it onto a plate. You've got the basic information. Step 2. Teach it to a child. You start explaining. Okay, so first you get 2 eggs and you crack them into a bowl. Then you take a fork and you mix them all up until the yellow part and the clear part are all one color. Then you put a pan on the stove and make it hot. You put a little butter in the pan and let it melt. Then you pour the eggs in. Now, you just wait for a minute and you'll see the sides of the egg circle get cooked. So you take your spatula and you you push the cooked part, and then, the liquid egg runs underneath. You get stuck. You know you're supposed to do something with a spatula, but you can't explain the motion or, more importantly, why you're doing it. The illusion of competence strikes again. You've seen it done, but you don't really understand the technique. Step 3, identify the gap and go back to the source. You go back to the video. You watch the chef's hands very closely. You see that they aren't just randomly pushing the egg around. They are gently pulling the cooked edges toward the center of the pan, and then tilting the pan so the raw egg on top flows to the edge and gets cooked on the hot surface. The reason for this is to cook the omelet evenly and quickly, making it fluffy instead of rubbery. You just filled a major gap in your knowledge. It wasn't just a random motion, it had a purpose. Step 4, review and simplify. You try your explanation again. Okay, so once the eggs are in the hot, buttery pan, you let them sit for about 20 seconds until you see the edges start to cook. Now for the secret to a fluffy omelet. You take your spatula and gently pull one of the cooked edges toward the middle. Then, you tilt the pan so the liquid egg that was on top runs over to fill that empty space on the hot pan. You do this a few times all around the circle. This way, all the egg gets cooked really fast and stays soft and fluffy. It's like you're making sure every bit of the liquid egg gets its turn on the hot part of the pan. Then, when there's just a little bit of shiny, wet-looking egg left on top, you add your cheese, fold it in half, and it's ready. That explanation is clear, simple, and it explains not just what to do, but why you do it. You now truly understand how to make an omelet, not just how to follow a recipe. This technique is so versatile. It works for abstract ideas too. Let's take something like economic inflation. That sounds complicated. Step 1, you read a basic definition. Inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, purchasing power is falling. Okay, that's a lot of jargon. Let's try to learn this with the Feynman technique. Step 2, explain it to a child. So, inflation is when, prices go up. So, the purchasing power of your money goes down. A child would just look at you blankly. What is purchasing power? Why do prices go up? This explanation is useless. You're just repeating a definition you don't understand. You've immediately hit a wall. Step 3, go back to the source. You need to understand the why. You read more and learn about supply and demand and the money supply. You find a simpler explanation. Imagine a small town that has only one toy maker. The toy maker makes 100 toys a year. And in this town, the people have a total of $100 to spend on toys. So each toy costs about $1. Pretty simple. But now, imagine the town's government decides to print more money and gives everyone an extra $10. Now the people have a total of $100 to spend on toys, but the toy maker can still only make 100 toys. What happens? Everyone wants a toy, and they all have more money, so they start offering more for the toys. The price of a toy might go up to $10 or $11. The toys didn't get any better. There are just more dollars chasing the same number of toys. That is inflation. Your dollar now buys you less of the toy than it did before. Its purchasing power has gone down. Step 4, review and simplify with that analogy. Okay, let me try again. Imagine your money is in a video game. You have 10 coins and a health potion costs 10 coins. You can buy one potion. Now imagine the game suddenly gives every player 100 extra coins. Now you have 110 coins. You feel rich. But the guy who sells the potions knows everyone has more money, so he changes the price. Now the health potion costs 100 coins. So even though you have way more coins than you did before, you can still only buy one potion. Your coins are worth less. That's inflation. It's when there's more money around, but the amount of stuff to buy stays the same, so the price of everything goes up. See? You've taken a dry, jargon-filled economic concept and turned it into a simple, understandable story. You did it by refusing to let yourself get away with using words you couldn't define simply. You forced yourself to find the core idea, the fundamental principle, and build a simple story around it. That is the power of the Feynman technique. So why does this simple 4-step process work so much better than the way we normally study? It comes down to a few key ideas about how our brains learn. The first is the difference between active learning and passive learning. Reading a book or watching a lecture is largely a passive activity. You are a receiver of information. Your brain can easily drift off. But the Feynman technique is intensely active. You are not just consuming information, you are forced to process it, to wrestle with it, to take it apart and rebuild it in your own words. This active engagement tells your brain, hey, this is important. Pay attention and store this information carefully. You are forcing your brain to form new connections, to build a mental model of the concept. Think of it like building with Legos. Passive learning is like looking at a picture of a finished Lego castle. You can recognize it, but you have no idea how it was built. Active learning, like the Feynman technique, is like someone giving you a big pile of Lego bricks and telling you to build the castle yourself. You have to figure out how the foundation works, which bricks support the towers, and how all the pieces fit together. After you've built it yourself, you don't just recognize the castle, you understand it on a much deeper level. Another reason it works so well is something psychologists call retrieval practice. This is the act of trying to pull information out of your brain rather than just stuffing it in. When you reread your notes, you're just stuffing information in, but when you try to explain a concept from memory, in your own words, you are forcing your brain to retrieve that information. This act of retrieval is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen a memory. It's like walking down a path in a forest. The first time you walk it, the path is barely there. But every time you walk it again, the path becomes clearer, wider, and easier to travel. Explaining a concept is like walking that mental path. The first time is hard and you get lost, but each time you do it, the connection in your brain gets stronger and stronger. The Feynman technique is also brilliant because it forces you to confront your own ignorance. As we discussed, the illusion of competence is one of the biggest barriers to learning. We are very good at fooling ourselves into thinking we understand something. The simple act of trying to explain it to a child shatters this illusion. It's like a mirror that shows you exactly where your knowledge is weak. Most study methods don't do this. They allow you to hide from your own confusion. Feynman's method drags your confusion out into the light so you can deal with it. It's not always comfortable, but it is incredibly effective. It turns the frustrating feeling of, "I don't get it," into a productive tool. That feeling becomes a signpost, pointing you exactly where you need to go back and study more. Now, like any powerful tool, there are common mistakes people make when they first try to use the Feynman technique. Let's go over a few so you can avoid them. The first and most common mistake is not being simple enough. People will try to explain a concept and they will still use some of the jargon. They'll explain photosynthesis and still say things like, "The process transpires in the chloroplasts." A child doesn't know what transpires or chloroplasts means. You have to be ruthless with yourself. If you use a word that a 10-year-old wouldn't know, you must break that word down and explain it, or find a simpler word. The goal is not to sound smart. The goal is to be clear. The second big mistake is skipping the physical act of writing or speaking. Some people try to do the technique just in their head. They'll think about how they would explain it. This is a trap. Your mind is very good at papering over the cracks. In your head, your explanation will seem smooth and perfect. But the moment you try to write it down word for word or speak it out loud, you'll discover all the holes and awkward phrasing. The physical act of forming the sentences, whether with your hand or your mouth, forces a level of clarity that you can't achieve just by thinking about it. So, don't be lazy. Get a real piece of paper or talk to your cat or a rubber duck on your desk. The process itself is what matters. A third mistake is getting discouraged when you find gaps. When you try to explain something and realize you can't, it's easy to think, "Ugh, I'm so stupid. I'll never get this." This is the wrong way to look at it. Finding a gap is not a failure. It's a victory. You have successfully identified a weak point in your knowledge. That's the whole point of the exercise. Every gap you find is an opportunity to build a stronger, more complete understanding. So, when you get stuck, you should be happy. You should say, "Ah, I found one," and then eagerly go back to your books to fix it. It's a treasure hunt for your own confusion. Finally, a fourth common mistake is trying to tackle a topic that is too big all at once. If you try to use the Feynman technique on the history of World War II, you're going to be writing for months. You will get overwhelmed and give up. The key is to break big subjects down into their smallest possible component parts. Don't learn the whole war. Start with a single, small concept. What was the Blitzkrieg? Or what was the significance of the Battle of Midway? Learn that one small piece deeply using the Feynman technique. Then, move on to the next piece. Over time, these well-understood pieces will start to connect, and you will build a solid understanding of the entire complex subject, piece by simple piece. It's like building a giant wall. You don't try to lift the whole wall at once. You lay it one brick at a time, making sure each brick is perfectly set before you move on to the next. This method, this simple idea of learning by teaching, can change the way you see knowledge. It turns learning from a chore of memorization into a creative act of building and simplifying. It's a mindset shift. You start to see every new piece of information not as a fact to be stored, but as a puzzle to be solved and then explained. It can be applied to anything in your life. Learning a new software for your job? Explain how to use its main feature to a colleague who has never seen it. Trying to get better at a sport, like golf? Explain the physics of a perfect golf swing to a friend. Trying to understand a political issue? Try to explain the core arguments of both sides to someone in a simple, fair way. The world is full of complexity. We are constantly bombarded with information, with new ideas, new technologies, and new challenges. The ability to learn effectively, to cut through the noise and the jargon and grasp the simple core of an idea is more valuable now than it has ever been. It's a true superpower. It's the difference between being someone who is overwhelmed by the world and someone who can navigate it with confidence and understanding. Richard Feynman gave us a map. He showed us that the path to genius isn't about having a bigger brain. It's about having a better process. It's about humility, about being willing to admit what you don't know. And it's about the profound and simple truth that if you want to truly understand something, you have to try to explain it. So the next time you're faced with something new you want to learn, don't just read about it. Don't just highlight it. Take out a blank sheet of paper, write the name of the concept at the top, and then start trying to explain it to a child who isn't there. Find the gaps in your knowledge. Fill them. And simplify, simplify, simplify until you are left with the beautiful, simple truth at the heart of the subject. That is how you learn like a genius. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you enjoyed this video and want more content to help you learn and improve, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps a lot.